Hello and welcome back. This is Chris with Marksman Shooting Sports in Westfield, Indiana, and you are watching Marksman TV. Today I have another tabletop review and comparison for you. We will be taking a look at the Honor Defense Honor Guard 9mm and the Smith Wesson M&P Shield 9mm. We will be starting off with an unboxing and then moving through a point-by-point comparison of the two. If you've seen our videos before, you know the drill. Let's go ahead and get into it now. Alright, starting off with the Honor Defense Honor Guard, there is a blue cardboard box. We'll go ahead and pull the lid off the top here. Underneath we will find instruction and warranty information here. Right in here is the handgun. I'll go ahead and pull this out. It does come with an 8-round extended magazine already inserted. I'll go ahead and drop that. There is a chamber flag here at the top. Go ahead and drop that out and we are clear. Right here is a flush 7-round magazine and one interchangeable back strap. Here is the factory test round right here, and then a gun safety lock. Getting into the shield, also comes in a cardboard box. Go ahead and open this up. Right here is the handgun and this blue plastic sleeve. I'll go ahead and pull that out. There is a chamber flag, so we'll go ahead and pull that out the rear. Inserted is an 8-round extended magazine. Over here under this panel is a flush mounted 7-round magazine. There is a gun safety lock under here, and here is our warranty information and instruction manual. Alright, let's go ahead and talk about the specs of the two. I will start over here with the Honor Guard. We do have an overall length of 6.2 inches and a barrel length of 3.2 inches. With the flush magazine inserted, it is 4.6 inches tall. With this extended magazine, it is 4.9 inches tall. It does have an overall weight of 22 ounces. Moving over to the shield, we do have an overall length of 6.1 inches and a barrel length of 3.1 inches. With the flush magazine inserted, it is 4.4 inches tall. And with this 8-round extended magazine, it is 4.9 inches tall. It does have an overall weight of 20.8 ounces. Capacity differences: the extended magazine in both hold 8 and the flush magazine in both hold 7. Price point wise, the shield can be found generally around $350 to $400, and the Honor Defense Honor Guard can be found usually around $400 to $450. Talking briefly about different purchase options on these, the shield, this is the 9mm. You can get it with or without the frame safety, so there is a frame safety lever here. If you get the one without the frame safety, it's the exact same firearm, just no safety lever here. This does come in 9 and 40. Now it does also come in 45. The 45 is a little bit different in design and it is larger. It does have different stippling on the grip, so it is a little bit of a departure from this original design. Also, they do make a Performance Center shield, which again has some upgraded features. I do not have one here, but I will roll in an image for you. In the Honor Guard, you can get this variant with or without a manual safety. This one does happen to have the manual safety lever in the rear, just like the shield. The one without it, again, is going to be identical to this, but without that safety there. They also have the long slide version, which is 6.8 inches in overall length with a 3.8-inch barrel. You can also get that one with or without the safety. And then they do have what they call the FIST, which is Firearm Integrated Standoff, which is like a little shelf that comes out below the barrel on the frame, so the frame's a little bit longer than the slide. I'll show you a picture of that. The only option in that is there is no safety. You cannot get it with a safety. That one is 6.6 inches long and does have a 3.2-inch barrel. Now, talking about the slides, I'll go ahead and start here with the Honor Guard. This is a stainless steel machined slide. Honor Defense calls the finishing a ferritic nitrocarburizing, which is a thermochemical surface hardening process which involves the fusion of both nitrogen and carbon. Not to get too scientific, it is also, other names for this sort of process are tenifer or melanite. So it is essentially, like we've talked about in our other videos, a different name for the same process you usually find in other firearms. Quickly jumping over into the shield, Smith Wesson calls this the armonite treatment on theirs. Again, it's the same thing. It's essentially the exact same process. So due to copyright issues or whatever, they have to call it different names, but that's essentially what it means. And typically, on a side note, if you see weird nomenclature for different finishing types from different products. Typically what it means is it's a melanite treatment. Alright, bringing this in close for you, we do see slide serrations on the rear and the front. Great up front for press checking. This does have very nice machining, very strong, positive gripping surface. It is nice and rounded, so it's not sharp. So very nice. Now these do wrap around the top and all the way to the other side. Not only great for gripping, but it's an interesting feature that they wrap these around the top, which I could assume would be great for breaking up or diffusing that that flat shiny surface up at the top, which could be good for diffusing some of that light reflection back at you as you're siding. I have not tried this yet, but it might be good, especially if you're in right in the middle of the day with the really bright sunlight or anything coming down on you. So there is that. Over here we see the extractor exposed, and of course this is a right-hand eject. Up at the top we will find our sights. They are in a 3-dot configuration. They are metal in construction and dovetailed on the front and pinned or screwed in at the front. So the rear sight is drift adjustable. There is no elevation adjustment option available. The sights, like I said, are metal in construction. You have 2 white dots in the rear and 1 orange in the front. They are not luminescent. They are not night sights. They do not glow in the dark. The orange is great for being able to allowing for your eye to quickly pick that up. One other interesting feature is the rear sight is sloped towards the rear, which typically you don't see. Usually it's in the opposite direction, so I can see as drawing this from a holster, there is no sharp rounded edge there to snag onto clothing or your holster as you're drawing. So that's a good thought there on that. On this side, of course, we have the large honor guard roll markings there, kind of etched into the metal. A little bit tacky to some people, really big, can't miss it, big billboard graphics, but some people might like that. It's there nonetheless for you. Bringing in the shield, there is fish scale slide serrations back here on the rear, but we do not have them up here on the front. There is a little bit of a beveled edge here, but I would not recommend grabbing up there that close to the muzzle to do any type of front slide press checking. On this side, you will see the extractor as well. Also on this side is our Smith Wesson roll markings. On this side is the big M&P 9 shield and the little Smith & Wesson emblem there. Of course, fish scale slide serrations on this side too. Up at the top, you will see a loaded chamber indicator porthole, so when you do have brass in the chamber, that should be shining back at you. Again, only going to be functional during the daytime. At night, you won't be able to see that. The front and rear sights are metal in construction and they are dovetailed in, and both are drift adjustable, but there is no elevation adjustment. We do see the sloping downward on the rear sight like I was talking about on the other, facing towards the front. On the honor guard, it's facing towards the rear. And this is a 3-dot sight configuration. They are not luminescent and they are not night sights. Alright, now getting into the trigger, the shield, it does have a polymer trigger. You do see a little hinge point about halfway down the trigger. That is a trigger safety, so as I push on the bottom, you'll see that hinge point start to rotate. There's a little lever back here that'll retract up underneath the trigger body, allowing the trigger to pull through when I pull from the bottom. If I pull up here from the top, it won't budge. So definitely a nice safety feature there. Testing the pull weight on this, we'll go ahead and grab it. Now when I pull through, we'll go ahead and just go through this. So there's a little bit of take up, about this much through the trigger pull. When you get about right here, there is that wall, and then pulling through you will feel that break. So showing you the reset, we'll go ahead and start to release until it's about right at this point. I'll go ahead and release a little bit more. You might hear a little click right there, and that is the reset. Again, then we have a little bit of take up again there, nice into a clean break. Now, some people will say the Shield, or really any of the traditional M&P pistols, does have a little bit of a gritty, sandpapery type texture to it. I will agree with that. It's not awful, but you definitely do feel a little bit of that grittiness in the trigger. Some of their newer products have moved away from that and upgraded the trigger a little bit, but in these Shields you will find that. And the trigger pull weight on this is about 6.5 to 7 pounds. Now, taking a look at the trigger on the honor guard, it does have more of a vertical slope to it, and it is metal in construction. You will notice there is no trigger safety device on here, whether it's a hinge or a little lever like on a Glock. There is a little trigger over travel stop here on the back. Going ahead and giving this a pull, right away you start to notice, you start to pull and there really is no take up. As soon as you start pulling, you do hit that wall. Pulling through, it will break at about 6.5 to 7 pounds, and there is very little over travel after the pull. After resetting the firearm, we'll go ahead and start to release, And right there, you may have heard that was the reset. So a little bit of travel to get back to reset, but I would say both the initial take up and the reset travel is shorter than on the Shield. But that pull does feel a little bit firmer, but they do rate in at about the same weight. I don't know, something about it just feels a little bit heavier. Also, something else I've noticed is the trigger guard itself is a little bit larger than the Shield. So if you are wearing gloves, now if you're wearing huge winter gloves, probably still won't fit too well. But if you have lighter weight gloves, you probably will have a better chance of firing this with gloves on. Alright, we'll go ahead and get into a disassembly, starting off here with the Shield. We'll go ahead and drop the magazine and check that we are clear, and we are. Go ahead and lock the slide open to the rear. On the left side there is a takedown lever, which I will push down into the 6 o'clock position, releasing the slide and dropping the striker. I'll go ahead and take the frame off the slide. Now under here we will see a steel double guide rod and recoil spring assembly. I'll go ahead and pull that out and then remove the barrel, and there we are field stripped. Moving over into the honor guard, I will go ahead and drop the magazine and check that we are clear, and we are. Go ahead and lock the firearm open. Now on the left hand side you will find a takedown lever. I'll go ahead and drop that down into the 6 o'clock position, release the slide, and then that comes straight off of the frame. Underneath here we will also find a steel double guide rod and recoil spring assembly. I'll go ahead and pull that out. It does have a lot of spring tension on there. Under here we will pull out the barrel, and we are field stripped. Alright, let's go ahead and talk about the frames. I'll go ahead and start here with the honor guard. Now bringing this in close for you, the first thing I notice is the stippling here, where the texture on the grip is very, very nice. It does have kind of this cross-hatched pattern kind of molded directly into the polymer itself, with this little sleek line here, mainly for aesthetics, leading up to the trigger guard. Now there are two little dips here. There's one here on this side and one here on this side. Again, for that nice allowing of that thumb to sit in there for either a left or right-handed shooter. And now moving into that, the ambidextrous controls on this is it does have a magazine release button on either side. The spring tension on this is very nice and positive. You do have to be deliberate with the magazine release, which is something that I personally like. With being a single stack 9mm, most people shouldn't have to roll their hand over to get the thumb completely on the mag release to allow enough pressure on that to remove your magazine. So a good thought. Moving up in here, the slide stop or the slide release lever, also ambidextrous and located right here, which is very easy to get to with the thumb in either hand. And of course your slide takedown lever is right here, which we showed you in disassembly. This does come with an interchangeable backstrap system. It does have the one here on the pistol, and there's also one more in the box you saw when we did the unboxing. The one that it comes with is a larger. Of course the frame is polymer, but up at the top we do have an embedded stainless steel chassis system. All of your key internal parts, guide rails for the slide, ejector, slide stop levers, trigger bar, all of that is definitely steel in construction. Alright, bringing in the Shield, the texturing over here on the grip is not as aggressive on the Honor Defense. Now, the Honor Defense by no means is very aggressive. It actually, to me, I don't really like aggressive grips, and the Honor Defense feels pretty comfortable to me. But this feels even more smooth and less aggressive than that. So very little texturing. I mean, there's some, but not a whole lot of difference there for me. You do have some smoothness in here with a dip on either side there for resting your thumb. Again, not as aggressive on the Honor Defense. Now, the magazine release lever itself is polymer in construction with really nice positive spring tension. However, it is not ambidextrous. It cannot be reversed to the other side. So this is primarily a right-handed shooter's firearm. Takedown lever is here. Slide stop lever, also only on the left side of the firearm, so actuated by a right-handed shooter. It is not ambidextrous. Also, safety back here as well. Again, remember you can get this without a safety if you do not like having that feature on there. Like we saw in the Honor Defense, there is no rail space up here at the front. Now, of course, the frame is polymer in construction. You do have an embedded steel chassis system, so of course all your crucial parts, slide guide rails, ejector, trigger bar, safety, all of that is going to be metal in construction. Alright, now let's finish up with the barrels. Here up at the top we do have the Honor Guard barrel, which is a length of 3.2 inches. This is machined out of stainless steel and does have that ferritic nitro carburized finish on it. It is a 1 in 10 right hand twist. There is no polishing here on the feed ramp. But yeah, basically, yeah, very standard. Also, the barrel is very thick. It has a really nice heavy weight to it for its size, which is going to probably lead into a little bit of the weight difference we see between the two. After I talk about the Shield, I'll bring them in close and show you the difference in the thickness of the barrels. Coming on down to the Shield, again, this is a machined barrel and does have that armonite or melanite type treatment on it. It also does have a polished feed ramp, which we did not see on the Honor Guard. Not a huge difference though. Things like Glocks aren't polished, but that is a little bit better attribute there for more reliable feeding. Of course, here's the machined out part at the top for that loaded chamber indicated porthole here at the top of the chamber on the barrel. And of course, this is also a 1 in 10 right hand twist. Bringing these in close for you, the Honor Guard is here, and you can just see the barrel thickness. They may have just started with a more thick blank, so it'd be easier to ream out for larger calibers. I don't know, but definitely a lot thicker, which is also going to kind of help with that heat mitigation. But also does have a little bit of a slanted end crown. So just you know, very nice barrels. Both of them are. I mean, they'll both get the job done. Just leaving you with a couple takeaways here. Some of the obvious noticeable differences is the Honor Guard is a little bit heavier. I think specifically it's exactly about 2 ounces heavier. You don't notice it that much just holding them hand in hand, but carrying them, I could definitely tell you would feel the Honor Guard a little bit more. I did notice that the barrel is thicker and a little bit heavier than on the Shield, but there is a little bit of a weight difference. Size, they're almost spec in at about the same size. They're about maybe a 1/10 of an inch apart in terms of length and height, but they're very, very close. They both come with 2 magazines, 8-round and 7-rounders, so we covered that. Texturing, I really like the frame design on the Honor Guard, the Honor Defense Honor Guard quite a bit more. This is actually a really good feeling grip to me. I like the interchangeable backstrap option. I don't tend to use the backstraps, but I like to have that option available to me, so that's nice that that's there. Ambidextrous controls, also a huge plus over here. Even if you are just a right-handed shooter, it is good to be able to control the firearm with your opposite hand, with your left hand, just in case something were to happen. You never know if you're in a defensive situation, if you're getting into your car late at night and someone jumps you and grabs your right arm, you still need to be able to get to your handgun with your left and be able to use it effectively. So that's still an advantage over here as well. Whether you want a flip safety or not, you can get it in either option. The Shield, even if you get it without that flip safety, you do get the trigger safety here, so that is an added benefit there for you. Sights on the Honor Guard, in my opinion, are a little bit better. I do like the rearward slope to them. Also, the bright orange front sight is a good plus. I like the metal trigger here and the Honor Guard as opposed to the polymer and the Shield. And I generally overall like the trigger and the Honor Guard more than on the Shield. It just has a better feel to me, just a nicer, cleaner pull in my opinion. One thing, I know I didn't get this on camera, but the Honor Guard was kind of a pain to reassemble. It does have a captive spring and then a non-captive spring, and the non-captive spring does have a lot of tension on it, so you really have to use both hands to press on that thing and kind of fight with it to get it in place. There's also 2 notches on the guide rod that have to align with some recesses in the chassis system and the frame to get it to go on properly. It took me some playing with, but I got it back on. Probably with some practice wouldn't be a big deal, but the Shield is just a lot easier to work with in that regard. I also like on the Shield that the front sights are dovetailed. On the Honor Guard they are not. So those are just some of my takeaways. Generally, overall, you are going to find the Shield cheaper. Now, I'm sure depending on where you live, you might find these on sale for a really good price and they don't have the Shields on price, but generally throughout the country and online, you're going to find the Shield a little bit cheaper, anywhere from $50 to $100 cheaper, especially some of those rebates we saw come out in the past few months. So value, is there 50 to 100 bucks extra value in the Honor Guard? Maybe. If those things matter to you, then yes. If not, then I'd probably still stick with the Shield. If it were me, I don't know, I would, it would be kind of a toss-up. I would probably still lean towards the Shield just for that price point. It is a little bit lighter. And, you know, things like grip comfort and trigger pull weight and stuff like that, when I'm in an emergency situation, I'm not going to be super nitpicky about that kind of stuff. And this isn't a take to the range target gun by any means. A lot of these features would be great on a target gun, but this is not what this is for. So I can kind of take it or leave it in this type of option. But those are just my takeaways, guys. Everybody else is going to have different opinions. That's what makes this great. Everybody's opinions, and everybody has an option that's there for them that works for them better than something else. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and leave it at that. If you enjoyed this video, please let me know by hitting that like button. If you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe to our channel for more. This is Chris with Marksman Shooting Sports in Westfield, Indiana. We will see you next time.